We don't have bank robberies. We don't even have a bank.
Life in Seldovia, slow and serene, but change is in the wind that bring both challenge and opportunity to the town that time almost forgot. And a lesson in growing community spirit. Meet Susie Stranick, the heart behind Seldovia's beauty.
Sponsorship for Frontiers with Rhonda McBride is provided by Kupik Corporation and Spinard Builders Supply. Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers, with challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief the best is yet to come, bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to Frontiers. Just as Alaska's geography is vast and varied, so is its economic landscape. This week, we take you to Seldovia, a waterfront community on the Kenai Peninsula, on the south side of Kachemak Bay, right across from Homer, and beyond the end of the road. Today, Seldovia is the suburb or bedroom community of Homer, but once it was the other way around.
59, I moved here.
I come in 48.
Back when Darlene Crawford and Lou Collier moved to Seldovia, it was the fishing hub of Cook Inlet. Homer was just a little place, and most of the town was built on a boardwalk to service the fishing community. Back then, king crab was king, and canneries were the economic lifeblood.
At that time, the population was about 450. Now it's about 250.
Then came the '64 earthquake, and to some extent, Seldovia has never recovered from the devastation. The canneries never completely rebuilt.
The tidal wave didn't wash the town away and all. We just kind of went back and forth, never knowing that we were sinking while we were going down.
But when the high tide came in, everything kept flooding. Most of the boardwalk was eventually filled in to put Seldovia on higher ground. Only one part of the boardwalk remains, a hint of what life was like in the town's heyday when it was the economic hub of the Kenai Peninsula. Well, fast forward to today. Photojournalist Carolyn Hall Jensen and I show you why Seldovia is still an economic frontier with both challenge and opportunity. From Homer to Seldovia, it's only a 45-minute commute, short, but enough time to help you transition to the town time almost forgot. As the whales play hide and seek along the way, the ferry slows down to let the passengers live in the moment. The Kachemak Voyager is a lifeline for Seldovia. It keeps the town's fragile economy moving, making it possible for people to stay in Seldovia.
That's the best place on earth in the summer.
Russ Gagel and John Gruber are longtime Seldovians, and they worry about the future of the place they call home.
And there are folks that are trying to stay, struggling to stay, but they're making it.
So why do they stay? The beauty of the land and water and spirit of the community. Most afternoons you'll find Brian Slover, a retired vet, playing his wooden flutes.
I actually target when we have a high volume of people coming through, so it's basically a big welcome Seldovia type thing.
The sound carries across the water. In harmony with Seldovia's blend of rural and urban life, unlike other off-the-road system communities, Seldovia has water and sewer service and paved roads. Although Seldovia also has high-speed internet, the town's nickname for itself, Slowdovia, one that's not lost on its new police chief.
More chance of getting run over by a local dog than a car.
There is a leash law here, but no one's told the dogs.
Some people call it retired on duty.
In the 2 months Chief Hal Henning has worked in Seldovia, his department has only had about 20 requests for help, mostly minor. In other places he's worked, he's had that many calls in a single day.
That's why some people come to Seldovia and come to villages that are smaller, is because they want that village life where you can ride a four-wheeler to get to school, or you can ride a four-wheeler to get to the grocery store.
The tourists love that feeling of freedom.
It's just very quaint. It's like all of Alaska. It has no pretension.
Nancy and Roger Sohoff are from Georgia. They say the best part about Seldovia, it's authenticity. But they do wonder about one thing.
Well, my question about Seldovia is that everywhere we walk, we see for sale signs.
Signs that suggest Seldovia's economy is in trouble.
Seldovia is an amazing opportunity for folks who want to get away from the busyness of big city life.
Jenny Chissa says when businesses fold, it's often because of health reasons.
Life changes on a dime.
One challenge in recent years, business owners who are aging out. Although the Mad Fish restaurant was popular and profitable, the couple who ran it decided to retire. With most of the income from the business earned during the tourist season, it's been a challenge to find new owners.
It's got an immaculate, beautiful kitchen, commercial kitchen, and it's also got living quarters behind it.
Chissa says the loss of any business in a small town like Seldovia ripples out to the whole community.
We're big fish in a small pond, and so each of us has an influence, good and bad.
There are also other chronic challenges. The community's main grocery store closed, leaving only one to serve the town. The high cost of transportation makes food more expensive, so locals tend to shop outside Seldovia, which keeps new stores from opening up. Still, many believe Seldovia's economy is on the rebound. Some young families have moved to town, bringing with them at least 30 children, most of them too young to go to school, but eventually they'll help to boost its declining enrollment.
I came here because I wanted my children to be able to have some independence in a safe and beautiful place.
There are several new businesses like Seldovia Fishing Adventures. Brent and Raywin Weir started their combined charter business and bed and breakfast 2 years ago.
There's a nice one.
The Weirs say it's not easy to run a business so far from the economic mainstream.
Everything we bring here is imported, barged, ferried, so it's a bit expensive.
Brent Weirs also works another job in the winter to make ends meet. But the Weirs say it's worth it. Like many in Seldovia, they love the outdoor life and the customers they serve.
It's nice to share Seldovia with them.
The Weirs are encouraged by other new businesses like the Boardwalk Hotel, which has been closed off and on for the last few years. The new owners added a restaurant.
The prospects are really good. We see a lot of growth already happening since we purchased the hotel.
Angela Campbell and her husband Jeremiah also stay open year-round, long after the tourists are gone.
Every community, doesn't matter how small it is, they need to have places where people can socialize.
The Boardwalk is now the second largest employer in Seldovia.
We employed 5 people throughout the entire winter. We have 16 employees
now.
right now.
You'll see Angela at the front desk doing all the paperwork, but she also cleans the rooms if need be. Jeremiah also works as a gardener.
And he's the maintenance guy, he's the plumber, he's the painter, the remodeler. I mean, we wear a lot of different hats.
Jeremiah also pilots the Seldovia Bay Ferry in the summer, a job that helps support his restaurant and hotel. The Campbell's niece, Madeline, works in the restaurant as a waitress.
I work on the ferry too sometimes.
And in between all of that, she launched her own kayak tour business, a hectic schedule.
Young people, especially that live here, work 3 or 4 jobs just to supplement.
Madeline says showing off Seldovia's beauty to tourists is the job that brings her the most personal satisfaction.
We'll go up into the slough if we have the right tide.
The water tour gives visitors a different, intimate experience, a chance to see the historic boardwalk from the water.
It's just so peaceful out here. You know, there's always the rush of getting everything ready, and then you get on the water and it's just so peaceful.
Madeline's new journey has given hope to the community that a younger generation will continue to reinvent Seldovia.
So your total comes to $323.
Susie Stranick moved from the Anchorage hillside, and although this gift shop is her summer retirement business, she's glad to see a younger generation, especially kids who grew up here, make Seldovia home.
But they do gravitate here because they realize there's something special about Seldovia. You know, something that they haven't been able to find when they were off at school. I think in today's fast-paced world, that's a very unique thing, to be able to have community in your life so intimately in this small town.
For Seldovia, the question remains, is it the town that time forgot, or a place where its time has finally come? Or maybe both. From the fishing capital of Cook Inlet to the off-the-beaten-path tourism stop, what's ahead for the community that time forgot? Is the cup half empty or half full? Just ahead, an economist and a longtime Seldovian weigh in.
At Spenard Builder Supply, we know it takes a lot of pieces to get the perfect look. That's why we have design centers in every store to personalize the most important rooms in your home. We'll help you select cabinets, countertops, and fixtures that fit your style. So all you have to worry about is, what shade of lipstick goes with that eyeshadow? Spenard Builder Supply. Building for life.
Visit our design experts today and receive 20% off all Kohler special order faucets and fixtures now through October 31st.
The Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium provides comprehensive health services for Alaska Native and American Indian people across our state. In addition to world-class care at the Alaska Native Medical Center, our work delivers health services for rural Alaska. From cutting-edge technology for the best care possible, to modern construction of clean water systems and health clinics, to health training and outreach that honors our culture, our vision is that Alaska Native people are the healthiest people in the world.
We have a story of 27 families that put 18 months of their lives into building a village, a home for themselves and their future. Our Inupiaq culture goes back thousands of years, carried by a strong sense of community. Our relationship with our natural surroundings is at the heart of our culture. By investing in future generations through development that is balanced with the love of our land, the Kupi Corporation brings together traditions of the past with visions of the future.
Good morning, I'm Megan Mazurek.
And I'm James Gaddis.
Well, I came to Alaska to fulfill my dream of finally working on a morning show. It's the one thing I want to do. When I got here, it was just a man and his dog. Now I've got a few more priorities, a few more responsibilities. Life has changed for the best in ways that I never imagined. I knew this would be, one of those trips, one of those life-changing ventures coming up here, but I didn't think it would be anything as fulfilling as this.
We're going to delve a little deeper into Seldovia's economic profile. And joining us, we have Gunnar Knapp, an economist and head of the Institute of Social and Economic Research, as well as Laura Hiltz, a longtime Seldovian and also a marketing director for the Seldovia Village Tribe. So I guess I'm going to start with you, Gunnar. I've heard that Seldovia is kind of a microcosm of the state in many ways. Do you agree?
I think that Seldovia certainly shares an awful lot with many other communities in Alaska, particularly coastal communities in South Central and Southeast. Some of the things, fishing is important, but fishing has had big ups and downs over the years. Tourism is important and growing. Like everywhere in Alaska, government is quite important in the economy. Many parts of Alaska, costs are high because of being off the road and the logistical problems. Like a lot of places in South Central, it's a place that was very significantly changed by the earthquake. So that's just some of the many similarities between Seldovia and other communities.
Well, Laurel Hiltz has provided us some numbers from the Chamber of Commerce. And let's start with Seldovia's population. It says the city of Seldovia has 250 people, but is that a little bit misleading about its size?
Well, when you think about Seldovia, it actually goes from the city all the way through the city limits out Seldovia Village to Jackaloff Bay. And if you look at that swath of land, that's about 375 year-round residents. And then we see in the summer that whole population goes up to about 500.
So is there a push to incorporate the people that live on the outskirts?
You know, that's been brought up from time to time and quickly been rejected by voters.
That's a typical pattern in rural Alaska.
Yeah, but I think that people, you know, they choose where they want to be. In the city, you have the benefits of the infrastructure of the water and sewer, and out the road you have, we call it out the road. We don't even say the name of the road. I live out the road. And we just have, people have opportunity there to have a freedom of lifestyle, maybe that's even more available for them.
Well, every community in rural Alaska, especially the more remote ones, struggles with keeping their school population numbers up, because if you fall below the threshold of 10, then that affects how much state funding you get. And you know, Seldovia has had a decline in its student population. I think it used to have more than 100 students at one point.
Right. Yeah, Susan B. English School in the 70s, when that school was built, they had more than 150 students because we had a very substantial commercial fishing industry and we had logging families in the community. And so then eventually the logging stopped, and so those children left, those families left, and then we stayed pretty strong and steady into the 1980s, and then as we saw commercial fishing begin to decline in the area, then we saw the population begin to decline as well. And it's interesting to note that that's the time that the community then began to look at tourism as a viable industry.
So time of transition, but this school issue, school population issue, it's so important throughout rural Alaska.
I agree. It's extremely important, especially in smaller communities. I think Seldovia is comfortably above the worry that some rural communities face of falling below a threshold where there wouldn't be a publicly funded school. But and with our state's budget problems, I think this is going to become even more of an issue going forward.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Seldovia's employment statistics. And I think here is the big surprise, at least for me, that the Seldovia Village Tribe is the #1 employer.
Yes, it's tremendous. So the city of Seldovia is incorporated as a first-class city. So Seldovia has that great infrastructure that's in place of all the services that the city is able to provide, and we have a mayor and a city council and a city manager. And then you have the Seldovia Village Tribe, which is a federally recognized government, and that organization is able to provide services for its members and really has a commitment to provide services for the entire community. And so in Seldovia we have 45 employees that are made up of about 25 full-time year-round employees. Then we have part-time employees and we have seasonal workers as well.
Gunnar, is that unusual for a tribe to have such an influence in a community like this?
Tribes are important employers and important providers of public services in many areas of rural Alaska. So no, it's not unusual in the rural Alaska context. It's also important to realize that this tribe is it's providing really a variety of standard government type services and also social services and some things that more often you'll find in the private sector, such as the ferry service.
That's right, they operate the fast ferry, and the whole community benefits from that, as well as the tourism industry. That's a really unusual thing. Well, let's also take a look at sort of the makeup of the businesses. We're going to just look at a slice here of the tourism sector. This is, you know, so amazing that you've got 16 lodging facilities. It seems like tourism really enhances Seldovia's economy.
I think there's no question that tourism is important in Seldovia's economy, like that of many other coastal communities in Kachemak Bay and other places. On the other hand, if you look at the total economy, really by far the largest player with about half the jobs is government. And we tend to often sort of look at the community and say, oh, it's a tourism community or a fishing community. And Seldovia is both of those. But the biggest player often, if you actually count up the jobs and where people are earning paychecks, is government.
Well, one thing about tourism is it's highly seasonal. What's it like to be in a community where, you know, about half of the people migrate out in the winter?
Well, it's fascinating in the I would say in the school year, so I think in terms of the school year and summer vacation. So in the school year, you have your base population who are really working hard to make sure that things continue to survive and thrive in Seldovia. And in fact, we do a lot of fundraising, and we say we bake a cake and we take it to the bake sale and we buy it back. And so we're, you know, and we're doing that all the time. Local people who are year-round residents are volunteering, and they're actively active community members, and you see them with many different hats. I'm sorry. So I just wanted to say that in the summer, we have that additional influx of energy that comes in with people that are there to stay for 6 months because they love to live there in the summer, and then the businesses that come, and so that's just an extra time of thriving for all of us.
I think Alaskans get frustrated that the seasonal folks that go home to the lower 48, that they take a lot of money out of our economy. Gunnar, what do you think about that perspective?
I think you can have both a glasses half full or a half empty perspective. On the one hand, and a lot of places in Alaska are familiar with this sort of seasonality and the non-residents. Those businesses are really important to coastal communities. It would be nicer if we had a more stable economic activities, or if more of these people lived in the communities year-round and contributed to them, not just economically, but in all the ways that build a community when people are permanent residents. But on the other hand, the communities are probably far better off than the alternative of if there was no tourism. I think our challenge is how to locally capture more, so that more of that tourism is actually done by people that are living in the places and are for whom the community really is home, and they contribute more than just an economic sense.
Well, Seldovia seems so creative in the way that they make it work, and we're out of time now, but I just want to let our viewers know that we're going to continue this conversation on the web, so there are more details. We'll dig a little bit deeper on a web extra. And coming up, berry pickers are out in full force around Alaska. We'll share your photos, and everybody can make a difference. More on a gardener with a passion for sowing community pride in Seldovia.
I just want cremation. Cremation specialists in Alaska.
Can I have a service before cremation?
Our staff is committed to serving your needs.
I just want something basic. The simpler, the better.
Specializing in simple cremations. Whatever your reasons are for choosing cremation, call Cremation Society of Alaska, 277-2777, or in the Valley, 373-8627, and on the web at alaskacremation.com.
It's not like people are going to come up to you and tell you they're thinking about taking their life. They're feeling alone, they're feeling hopeless, they're feeling lost, unloved.
Those who are suicidal feel alone. Let them know they're not. Ask how they're doing. Check in every day.
I wish I would have called them one more time.
You could save a life. No experience necessary. For support, go to stopsuicidalaska.org.
Radiologist Dr. Christopher Reed always finds a way to get the real-life inside story, while ear, nose, and throat specialist Dr. Stephen Schaefer has brilliant sensory perception. And when you have a bad gut feeling, Dr. Douglas Hagigi has a gift for making things just right. So what do these three outstanding specialists have in common? Anchorage Project Access, because every life matters.
I was really nervous, borderline scared at the starting line at Mount Marathon. And I had done stories about it. I knew the mountain, but these are a whole different breed of runners. These Alaska trail runners, they're serious. To look up and know, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get to the top of that, and that feeling when you get to the top, it's changed my family's lifestyle because now we're out climbing mountains every weekend, and there's just always somewhere new to go, somewhere else to explore, another mountain to climb.
Next week on Frontiers, the power of storytelling in native languages.
I'm John Active.
We'll hear from John Active, a familiar voice on Bethel Public Radio. For many years, he broadcasted in both English and Yupik and was a bridge between two worlds on radio talk shows, helping public officials and Yupik listeners carry on a conversation. And what he loves most of all is translating for elders.
They're just glad that there's somebody that they can understand doing news, giving them information, educating them on radio and TV.
John Active will share some traditional stories that he learned from his grandmother, like how the crane got blue eyes. And we'll also hear from Tlingit elder David Katsik. Well, one of the things that we saw when we visited Seldovia was tremendous community spirit. Susie Stranick says in a small town, it can grow quickly.
All about setting a good example.
When Stranick isn't busy running her nursery and gift shop, she puts her green thumb to use in Seldovia. She not only donates plants to dress up the town, but also makes sure that they get enough water and prunes them on a daily basis.
If you live in a community like this and you have a handful of people that are passionate about their community, it is an amazing place where everybody can thrive in that atmosphere.
Stranick says flowers are her way of giving back to Seldovia. However, she says, however you express it, it's important for everyone to find some way to make their community a better place. And when that happens in a small town, it can make a huge difference. From flowers to berries, thanks to all of you who have sent us photos of yourself enjoying Alaska's bounty. We had a photo to share of Laurel Hiltz gathering salmon berries outside Seldovia near Jackaloff Bay. And this comes from Robin Hopper, a well-known singer-songwriter who also seems to have a talent for picking blueberries and ptarmigan. Love those stained fingers. And we will share your berry photos here on Frontiers throughout this month, so send those pictures our way. And you can see more berry picking photos on the Frontiers section of KTVA.com, where you can also find past programs, web extras, and other photo galleries. Well, thanks for being a part of our conversation this week about Seldovia, and we'll see you next week as we explore yet another Alaskan frontier. And as always, may you find your own frontier.